Hello, travelers, and welcome to Go See, Do, Explore.
Here, we dive deep into the heart of travel, sharing hidden gems, unforgettable experiences, and the stories that make each destination unique.
Whether you're a seasoned traveler or dreaming of your next getaway, you're in the right place to get inspired.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And together, we'll set the course for your next great adventure and discover the stories that make each place unforgettable.
It's time to go, see, and do more. Let's explore. Hello, everybody, and we are back for another episode of Go See, Do, Explore. We're going to be doing our February news roundup, although I'm pretty sure by the time this gets released, it will be March.
It will. March 1st.
Yes. So these are some travel-related headlines between the last travel news we did in January and the end of February. So, yes.
And once again, I don't know what they are.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, we're going to start like we always do with airline news. And this was a pretty recent headline, but American Airlines is debuting its longest domestic flight, flying from Chicago to Honolulu.
Wow.
This service will begin on October 26th, and it will be flying a Boeing 787-8.
Okay.
The flights to Honolulu will be on the airline's newer and larger aircraft, which will enable American Airlines to offer passengers more premium seating options on every flight.
It also allows them to move a lot more people.
Yes.
It makes the flights more cost effective.
Yes.
That's cool.
Compared to last summer, American will have more than 40% additional premium seats flying from O'Hare.
Don't look this up now, but I wonder, does Delta have Detroit to Honolulu direct, I wonder?
I feel like they do.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But then that would be longer, so maybe not.
Well, as you said, American Airlines.
Oh, yeah, it's American.
I was just curious if Delta had a longer flight, which I think they do, but not much.
Is it not possible to fly from New York to Hawaii?
Oh, it's possible. I think Singapore Airlines has like a Singapore to JFK or something like that direct. I think that's the longest flight in the world. You can go in either direction. Like it's about the same distance to go east or west.
It's just interesting to me then that there's no JFK to Hawaii. I guess at least not American.
On American.
So I guess maybe United or Delta has something like that now.
Yeah.
All right. Another airline news, and this isn't news to you because I've been talking about this for a while, but there's the first ever flight direct from the U.S. to Puglia.
Yeah, that's cool. Puglia in southeast Italy.
Yes. It's debuting in June on Neos Airlines, flying from JFK to Bari.
Yeah. So you can go to the St. Nicholas Festival in Bari.
Yes. And ever since we've been back from Italy, I feel like Puglia is one of those places that I really want to visit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whenever we travel somewhere, I really want to go back and like explore deeper. But yeah, Puglia is a whole region that we didn't get to. So the flights on Neos will depart JFK every Tuesday at 4 p.m. and they will arrive in Bari at 8 a.m. So these are red-eye flights.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of eastbound transatlantic. A lot of those go overnight.
Oh, yeah. So if you have been considering a trip to Puglia, it will be even easier this summer. All right, our next piece of airline news, Southwest's partnership with Iceland Air is live. And so you can now book a flight on Southwest all the way to Europe.
That's cool. Would you book Iceland Air and would they code share you on Southwest or both maybe?
At the moment, you can only book Southwest Iceland Air itineraries using Iceland Air's website and some third-party online booking service.
Which I feel like that makes more sense. Like you're not going to be going to Southwest and be like, Southwest, how do I get to Paris or whatever? Like probably you're on Iceland Air and they're going to connect you.
Yes. It looks like connecting in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. That was what I saw too.
Yeah.
I had shared that one with you.
Oh.
Remember I ran over to you and showed it to you.
Yes. This is very exciting. But one of the things that we love about Iceland Air, and I feel like a lot of these kind of national airlines, is just the ability to build in a stopover without costing you any additional money. And a lot of times these airlines are cheaper than the major U.S. carriers for these routes. So you're saving a little bit of money and getting to see someplace else, which makes it fun.
We did that.
Yeah, on Iceland Air.
Yes.
We didn't book a stopover on Iceland Air, though. We did something more complicated.
That's true.
All right. Spirit Airlines is in the news this time. About a month ago, they updated their dress code. I originally had that in the news, but I took it out because other stuff came. Spirit Airlines rejects Frontier's latest merger bid.
Man.
Plans to proceed on its own.
Okay.
I feel like every single one of these episodes, something has come up with Spirit and JetBlue or Spirit and Frontier or Spirit's bankruptcy or something like that. So if you've listened to these before, hopefully this isn't the first time you're hearing this. But yeah, I guess Spirit says that they don't want to be acquired by anybody and they're going to go full steam ahead on their own.
Yeah. I mean, their loyalty program is called Free Spirit. So, yeah. I hope that it goes well for them. I really, even though, like, look, everyone loves to hate on budget airlines, but you know what you're getting into. And yeah, they're a major carrier in Detroit, as we've mentioned many times. We fly them a lot. I don't really enjoy flying them, but I enjoy very much the kind of trips that Spirit has enabled me to be able to take on my budget. So hope you stick around, Spirit.
So Spirit is continuing its restructuring under Chapter 11 bankruptcy and is planning to exit Chapter 11 by the end of March. The funny thing is, our last Spirit flight, it was a long one. It was late, and the flight attendants were having a conversation. We were in the big front seats, so, we got all the good hot goss, if you will. And one of the older flight attendants was saying to the younger ones, like, if we survived 15 years ago, we can survive this.
Yeah.
So maybe Spirit's here to stay. We will see.
Hope so.
All right. And I thought this was interesting. There was a federal study of the most affordable airports to fly to in the United States.
Fly to from like any other airport?
Just on average.
Okay. I'm going to guess. Can I guess?
Sure.
I'm going to say Atlanta's going to be up there. No? Okay.
You think smaller.
Oh.
It's surprising. The cheapest airport is surprising.
Are they all small or just the top one?
The fifth one is probably the biggest of all of them.
I should probably think like where Southwest flies, right? Is it like Houston Hobby or Midway or something like that?
No.
Is it smaller than those?
I think so, yeah.
Aspen?
No, I think that's
too small.
No, I think that's too expensive.
Oh.
Too fancy.
Havre, Montana.
Now I think you've gone too small.
Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Okay, just tell me.
The cheapest airport in America is Branson, Missouri.
Oh, that totally makes sense.
Is that the one that is
That's the
seasonal?
One that right now, I think it's Sun Country is the only airline that flies to Branson.
Oh, yeah.
That totally makes sense because they built this massive, well, not massive, but for Branson, pretty big airport. Frontier was flying there, but stopped flying there. I think there was one other airline, maybe JetBlue, that was flying there that stopped flying there because Springfield is like an hour drive. So like Springfield has a big airport and everyone flies there. And so Branson closes in the winter because only Sun Country is flying there. In the FAA report for 2023 or 2024, I don't remember which one, it was the least used.
I think it was 2023.
Yeah, 23. It was the least used commercial airport with scheduled flights.
The average fare to Branson, Missouri is only $90.76.
And I think it's like only from Minneapolis or something like that because on Sun Country you can fly anywhere as long as it's one of the ends is Minneapolis.
Other inexpensive airports on the list include Mobile, Alabama at $98.75 on average. Columbus, Ohio at $124.36. Provo, Utah, $126.15. And this is the one I think is the biggest one in this top five anyway, is Phoenix, Arizona at $132.37. Yeah. And I have to say, I've never seen a flight that cheap to Phoenix, Arizona from Detroit.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say with the exception of Phoenix, those are all airports that probably only have a couple of routes, like a couple of regular routes, and they probably all have like relatively fixed fares. So I think this is a little bit misleading in my opinion. And not in the, I mean, obviously the information is factual, but just like those are the cheapest airports to fly to if you're flying from like probably one of the two other airports that connects to them. It's not really an indication of an inexpensive airport, in my opinion.
This article on Travel and Leisure also mentions how it's important if you're looking for a deal to search at neighboring airports. So it says that the average round trip flight from Orlando is on average $269, but Sanford is only $116.
Right. And it's because of the airlines that fly from Orlando versus Sanford, right? Like Sanford is almost exclusively low-cost carriers.
Yep.
And so the average fare is going to be cheaper, but you can only go to a handful of places from Sanford.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that this article is bogus. That's what I'm saying. Like, again, not that it's wrong, but I think it could lead you to draw false conclusions.
On the opposite end, price-wise, are remote and kind of hard to reach airports, such as Alaska's Attic Island, Cold Bay, and Valdez, which cost over $1,000 on average. Unalaska?
Yeah, that's like the very end of the Aleutians.
It's an average of $1,300, and not surprisingly, Guam had an average of $1,658. But most of those flights are probably going to be very long to get there.
Guam and Unalaska, I think, are big. Like, there's like military traffic, right? I don't know about the other ones you mentioned in Alaska, but it's certainly like the oil industry, I think, is up in Valdez. Yeah.
But yeah. So I just thought it was kind of interesting.
I don't even remember where I was reading this, but I was reading that airlines, when they're serving an airport that's primarily like armed services traffic, so like Huntsville, Alabama is actually another example of this, where you're going to have probably a large percentage of the people flying to that airport are working for the military, that they will raise prices to those airports because they know that basically the federal government is footing the bill for the majority of the traffic. And it really can alienate people that are living in that area or need to get to that area or paying with their own money. So, I mean, the Alaska ones are super remote, and Guam obviously is a really long way away. But Huntsville, though, seeing Huntsville on the list as a relatively cheap one is interesting.
All right, we're going to move out of airline news, and we're going to talk about cruising for a little bit. Royal Caribbean is going to home port for the first time in over a decade in San Diego.
Cool. It's probably a more pleasant experience than LA.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Just
probably a little bit less traffic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, when I put this on this list and I didn't read the article fully, they are moving the Serenade of the Seas to San Diego.
Oh, is that the one we were on in Alaska?
That is the ship we were on in Alaska.
Yeah.
I wonder where they're going to take it because that's such a small ship.
Mexico, probably.
I'm sure it's going to be to Mexico. I feel like it worked really well in Alaska because you could go to ports that the bigger ships couldn't go to.
What do you think they'll take it back to Alaska in the summer?
Probably. It's probably seasonal would be my guess. This is going to be beginning in October 2026, but I'm sure the sailings are for sale now. So yeah, maybe if you want to do some of that Baja Pacific Mexico kind of itinerary, but you don't want to deal with LA traffic, LA craziness, Royal Caribbean has an option for you on a tiny ship that has nothing to do.
Well,
maybe that's not fair.
If you're in nice weather,
you
then
can go outside.
The whole ship is available to you. If you're in like gross, like Alaska ocean weather where you can't go outside, then yeah, there's nothing to do.
We're going to have half of the people in this tiny little bar area to do trivia. Anyway. All right. Also in cruising news, and this one is really interesting to me, Celebrity Cruises announces it's getting into small boat European river cruising.
Yeah.
So I think we've mentioned on this podcast before that 2 spring breaks ago, we took a cruise on the Celebrity Solstice, which is probably one of my favorite cruises that we've ever taken.
It was really good. Like every single day, every single port was really good.
And the ship, everything on the ship, it was like made for people like us. It was also...
Wow.
What?
Wow. Made for people like us.
It's like made to our tastes in a way that I did not feel like the Serenade of the Seas
That makes us
on that Alaska sailing was made for us.
That makes us sound like
because I am not 80 years old.
Fancy people. No, but snobbery aside, I get your point.
Yeah.
We liked that ship a lot.
Yeah.
We found that people didn't know how to say the word solstice, though.
Oh, yeah. That's the solstice.
The solstice.
But we really enjoyed that experience and the atmosphere on that ship. It was a lot of fun. And I have, probably since the first travel show, I've been very interested in the European river cruise idea, I guess. But I feel like I am not 65 plus, so I don't know. I feel like
those do have a reputation.
We would stand out on a river cruise, and I'm just curious if the celebrity one will be the same.
I kind of think it will.
Is it just the nature of river cruises?
I think it's the nature of river cruises. They tend to be pretty expensive. Yeah, I would still do one. I mean, I don't care. I'll hang out with seniors, or I'll just hang out in my room or whatever, you know.
So Celebrity has ordered 10 ships that will begin sailing the rivers of Europe in 2027.
See, that's interesting because I was assuming that they were going to acquire someone. I kind of thought that was where this was going.
No, they're building their own.
Yeah.
The statement says that their river boats will bring the elevated design and sophistication of the Edge series ocean ships to the river.
Yeah.
Which we haven't sailed on an Edge ship.
I wonder if this is like a, hey, Viking, you're edging in on our turf. We're going to edge in on yours.
Could be. That could be a little bit. Although I think the Viking ocean ships are a little smaller than the Celebrity ones. But yeah, that's, maybe I'm being nitpicky.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't put on my news list that I just read the other day and it made me really sad is Captain Kate is leaving Celebrity.
Oh.
I really enjoyed all of the videos that we watched in our stateroom of interviews of Captain Kate. And she is the one cruise ship captain that I would like actually go to the like meet the captain dinner to meet because she seemed like a very cool person.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not on my list. That was just a detour. I think it's probably time for a wine break.
Okay, let's take a wine break. We're here for the wine break, our real proper wine break where we drink wine.
I think we drank wine the last episode. It just wasn't made of grapes and it was not served at room temperature.
We have here today a Marquette Reserve from a winery called Bergdorf's, which is not that far from us here in Southeast Michigan. They're kind of in South Central Michigan. What does it smell like to you?
Wine.
Very funny.
I thought so. I get red fruit. My nose isn't working super great.
Oh. For me, there's like a kind of a raisiny quality. I'll talk about that in a minute. Like, smokiness is the right word. What do you notice about the flavor?
Like I said, my taste buds aren't super great, but...
Oh, okay. It's a very like plummy, pruny, raisiny, dried fruit kind of
Yeah, but
wine.
it's also kind of tart in a way that aged red wines a lot of times aren't.
Yes. So I wanted to talk about this one. First of all, Bergdorf's, it is apostrophe S, kind of cool. It started as a garage winery and has been a garage winery for many years. They just recently sold and moved. I wasn't going to get into all that today, but that's definitely one to check out if you're in Central Michigan. I don't think they have distribution. Well, no, they do have because they're in Total Wine in Michigan. They're in Total Wine. The one thing I wanted you to note, it says it's 15.3% alcohol.
I can feel the burning in my throat when you say that, yeah.
I didn't notice it when I had it the other day, and then I read the bottle. I was like, wow, really? So their notes say juniper, oak, black raspberry on the finish.
I don't really taste juniper. It's like a Christmas tree to me. I don't know.
In any case, what I really wanted to talk about, just very briefly, is hybrids. Marquette is a hybrid grape. What do you know about hybrid grapes? Put you on the spot.
They're not like, the Vitis vinifera.
Vitis vinifera.
But they're also not the Native American grapes like the
Labrusca and there's another one that I'm not
Niagara
remembering right now.
and
Right.
Is Cayuga one?
Cayuga is a hybrid.
Oh, it is. Okay. I know a lot of them were created in Cornell.
Yeah, that's true. So hybrids, it's just like a hybrid of any kind of plant, right? It's not anything special. It's basically a way that viticulture has found that they can adapt the European varieties to North America, especially the colder parts of North America. And you're right, a lot of them are from Cornell. Marquette is from the University of Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
They developed, and the University of Minnesota has...
That makes sense with the Marquette name.
Exactly. And University of Minnesota has a big hybrid program. They've actually come up with a lot of hybrid apples.
Oh. Does Michigan State do any of that?
I don't know.
I haven't heard it. Like, we've never been to a
Yeah.
winery and they're like, this is an MSU hybrid.
No, but there's something to look for. I think if you haven't had a hybrid, I would look for some of these because they can be really good. Like Marquette can express really well in northern climates. Another one, you mentioned Cayuga. Mauby does a lot of Cayuga White where they make it into sparkling wine, and that's really good. And we've also had a lot of good still Cayuga White in the Finger Lakes, which again, the Cayuga White is from Cornell. Cornell University is on Cayuga Lake. There are, another one that I really like is Marcel Foch. It always kind of smells bad. I think Foch smells bad, but I think it tastes really good. The one that I struggle with is Chambourcin. That one just...
Yeah, I know. Anytime we see that on the menu, you avoid it.
I just don't think it tastes very good. Chancellor is another one. I think Chancellor is also from the University of Minnesota. But anyway, yeah, it's something to look for in the grocery store. You can broaden the wines that you're aware of. These are good wines, so definitely check them out.
Yeah, and if you are in the kind of mid-Michigan area, look into Bergdorf's.
Definitely. Okay, good wine break.
All right, we are back with some more travel news. And the first one is actually something you told me about because you received an email. Uber now has some preferred currency pricing.
Can I growl into this microphone?
Do you want to explain what this is for anyone who did not receive the email from Uber?
So previously, if you were in a country that used a currency that was different than your home currency, that Uber would show you the currency of the country you're in. So for example, if you're, US based, but you go to Mexico, your fare would be in pesos. So Uber sends an email that's basically like, we're going to help you out because foreign money is hard, right? No, they didn't. I don't want to be unfair. They didn't say that, but there was kind of, in my opinion, kind of a little bit of a patronizing tone to this email. But it was basically saying, look, we're going to keep your fare in US dollars. We will do the conversion for you. We'll give you a fair market conversion rate. And basically they're going to charge also a convenience fee. And so, like, the thing that actually got me kind of upset about this email was that last bit. It was not only that, like, okay, so now you're going to show it to me in dollars. Great. You're going to give me like the same conversion rate that I would get from a bank or something like that. Awesome. But then you're going to charge me a fee for this. And like the whole email was like saying like, oh, we're going to give you a good rate. We're not going to mark up the conversion at all, but we're going to charge you a fee. I'm like, okay, so that's the same thing. Like, and I'm sure it's not technically the same thing, but effectively it's the same thing. I would not be surprised if you see things like this more and more. And the reason why is that the US dollar is really strong right now relative to a lot of foreign currencies. Travelers like you and like us, when we travel internationally, right now we have good purchasing power. I'll put it that way. I don't want to say this in such a way that makes it sound like, oh, you get such a deal. Other countries are so cheap. Like, be careful to talk like that. That's not good to talk like that. But the American dollar goes really far in a lot of places right now. And all these middleman companies like Uber want to get a piece of that pie. And they're banking on the fact that you're not going to feel that difference, right? You don't know how much an Uber costs in pesos, right? And you probably don't have a great way of converting pesos to dollars in your head, right? It's not an easy one to do. Or like Icelandic krona or whatever. I don't know if Uber is in Iceland, but
I don't know.
I think they're probably not.
No.
But anyway, Uber will not be the only company to try to do this. And so just be alert, be aware. I believe with Uber, there is a way essentially to opt out of this and to say, no,
there is.
Yeah, to just show it to me in the country's currency that I'm in. And that is what we will be doing when we go to Mexico because...
Yeah, there is a way to kind of change it permanently in your account. And I can put a link in the show notes to the Frommer's article that can walk you through that.
Yeah, great. I would also say, and this is not a vendetta against Uber by any means, but we've said it on this podcast many times before. Look at alternatives to Uber when you're in other countries. There are oftentimes other services that work the same way and benefit the local economy a lot more. So, yeah, I would just say do that. And we'll be doing that in Mexico too. I don't know To what degree we'll use Uber in Mexico, I think it's possible we will use it, but we will also be looking to the other services that exist there.
You've probably heard that there have been a lot of layoffs in the U.S. Federal government. And one of the areas that received a large chunk of layoffs is the National Park Service. So I kind of wanted to talk through what that means if you're planning, like us, if you're planning a national parks vacation this summer. How bad are you going to feel that? Approximately 1,000 National Park Service employees were terminated. They were all on probationary periods, so that doesn't necessarily they were in trouble or new to the National Park Service. It's very common for rangers to move from park to park, and when you would get to a new park, you'd be put on a probationary period for a year. There's typically about 20,000 permanent employees within the Park Service, so you're talking 1 for every 20 were let go. But I've been reading a lot of kind of fear-mongering about this. Don't go to the national parks this summer. It's going to be totally overrun with people. Everything's going to be dirty. People aren't going to take care of things. There's going to be graffiti, blah, blah, blah. Some of the national parks have already announced reduced operations. I believe it's pronounced fluorescent fossil beds in Colorado. And several others have announced that the visitor center will be closed on Mondays, some parks Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you do have a national park trip coming up, be sure to check their website at nps.gov for the updated times and closures and things like that. Also, at the very beginning, the first day of this administration put a hiring freeze into place. And I guess what I wanted to let people know, because I feel like from what I've been reading online, a lot of people are not aware of this. According to an Department of the Interior memo, the hiring freeze does not impact seasonal Park Service employees. So the Park Service is still intending to hire about 7,700 employees for the summer. Well, it's not good. It's not nearly as devastating as the headlines kind of make it seem.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to make the situation better.
No, because the parks have been understaffed for a long time.
It's been a problem, longer than this year. And I would say if you're going to a national park this summer like we are, just plan accordingly.
Right.
Know that there may be not a lot of services. But this is yet another good reason, I think, to seek out some of the parks maybe that are not like the headline parks, the Yosemites and the Yellowstones. I mean, personally, I think I would avoid those parks this year, not from a fear-mongering perspective. And if you have a trip planned, I wouldn't cancel it. I'm not saying that. But it's like me personally, I don't think I would want to go to those parks this year. But there are so many sites that you can go to, and so many sites that while they do rely on a professional staff, of course, and I wouldn't suggest otherwise, it's not like you're going to have a bad experience there. Like,
right. And there's also state parks around the country too that have amazing sites as well. Like, I'll just name a couple that we really, really like. Custer State Park in South Dakota is wonderful. And honestly, on the scale of a national park, we love all of our Michigan state parks, but also Watkins Glen State Park in New York, amazing. And Hocking Hills in Ohio, all great parks that are not affected by this federal employee issue.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of it and try to be respectful of all of the workers that you encounter because they're under a lot of stress.
And maybe pick up some trash.
Pick up some trash.
We'll try to do that.
All right, we're going to change gears. The world's tallest roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey is coming down.
Oh, which one is that?
It's called King to Ka. I think it was open when we were there. It is also the second fastest roller coaster in the world. And Six Flags quietly closed it and started demolishing it without any sort of announcement.
Oh, so roller coasters are quiet quitting now, huh?
Yep.
Actually, the new one is quiet vacationing.
Oh, really?
They were from quiet quitting to quiet hiring to now, and then there was like loud quitting, and now it's quiet vacationing.
So King to Ka opened in 2005. It had a 460-foot drop.
It's more now.
456. Well, no,
No, I know.
it's gone now.
I know.
And the top speed was 128 miles per hour.
I don't remember this thing at
I
all.
don't remember it either.
The name sounds familiar.
The picture honestly kind of looks like the Top Thrill dragster from Cedar Point.
Like Trop Frill.
But it has faced its fair share of problems over the years. It closed for months back in the initial season, and those long closures were a regular thing. It was struck by lightning in 2009. Oh, it was closed again in 2023 when its launch cable snapped. So people didn't know if it was ever going to reopen, and it sounds like it is now closed. So we will see what Six Flags brings to where King Kai used to be. This article does say that guests can look forward to the opening of The Flash Vertical Velocity this spring.
Okay.
It will be the first super boomerang coaster in North America, launching guests both forward and backwards with speeds up to 59 miles per hour.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds intense.
How can you launch both forwards and backwards?
Yeah, because it's a boomerang.
Apparently, this is not related to the story. Well, it is related, but the world's fastest roller coaster is Formula Rossa at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
There you go. Oh, Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point is the second tallest roller coaster, which I guess after this one comes down, it will be the tallest.
Okay.
We're going to move over to Europe, where a train connecting Milan to Paris is open again after a 19-month closure.
Oh, just in time for the Olympics. I wasn't joking.
Oh, the Olympics in Milan.
No, it's because that's next year.
Yes, because it's like you can take the train from where the last Olympics
Do you think
were.
the Torch is taking the train from
Maybe the Torch is taking the train.
Paris?
I thought the Torch was in L.A., though, with Tom Hanks.
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise.
And Snoop Dogg.
And Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird to me that they pass the torch from summer to summer, but then there's like a winter in between.
Mm-hmm. There's two torches.
There's like a winter torch and a summer torch, I guess. Yeah.
The tickets for this train start at only $35, and it takes about 6 to 7 hours to get from Paris to Milan. And honestly, if this was a thing when we were looking for our summer trip, like that could have, instead of the flights and all the waiting in the airports and all that.
Yeah, at least in one direction we could have done that.
Yeah. We could have gone from Venice to Milan and then.
It's good to know too, because like oftentimes some of the cheapest flights to Europe are to Paris.
Yes.
So if you can get to Paris and then get on a train, that's really nice.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are stops along the way at other destinations as well.
Yeah.
And now I think this final news article is going to ruin some of your plans.
Okay.
Nepal is increasing the fee to climb Mount Everest to $15,000.
Oh, so you were joking?
I was joking.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to be in a situation where like climbing Mount Everest was a thing I was considering, but it's definitely not.
It was the 35% increase. So it's a significant amount of money if you were considering.
It was expensive.
It was already expensive, yes, but
it should be expensive probably. I mean, what you're paying for is like
helping you so that you don't die on the world's tallest mountain.
Now, do you have to pay a Yeti directly? Are they the ones that collect?
Yeah, there's actually a booth with Yetis. You just hand them $15,000 in cash, in U.S. cash.
What do you think they do with it? The Yetis.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going with this joke.
In all seriousness, income from permit fees and other spending by foreign climbers is a key source of revenue and employment for Nepal.
I'm sure. Yeah. They probably don't have like national income tax or anything like that. It's all just Mount Everest money. I don't know. I'm speculating.
The new rate will come into effect in September. Oh, if you want to save a little bit of money and climb Mount Everest, you can climb between September and November for $7,500 or December through February for $3,750.
Because it's like the low season.
Yeah, and I imagine it's probably very cold.
Yeah, I was wondering like if the season matters. It probably does. It would matter at lower elevations.
Expedition organizers don't think that this price increase is going to discourage climbers. And I can't imagine that it's going to. If your goal in life is to climb Mount Everest, you're going to do whatever it takes to climb Mount Everest.
And I don't know like what the total cost of a trip like that is, but I'd imagine a $4,000 difference is not like you're paying a lot of other money for like gear and like Sherpas and flights and, you know, all that stuff too.
Right.
You're going to do it $4,000 is not going to stop you,
Right.
which is probably why they raised it.
Yep. Yeah, so that is all of our travel news for February. Intentionally not talking about any plane crashes or near misses or any abominations that have been happening in the
unacceptable.
United States.
FAA, you got to get it together. It's not okay.
So, yeah, we will talk to you next week.
All right. That's all for today's episode of Go, See, Do, Explore. Thank you for joining us and sharing in the wonder of travel.
Keep the spirit of today's adventure alive by checking out our blog at goseedoexplore.com for even more travel inspiration.
You can also get in touch with us by emailing us at podcast@goseedoexplore.com. And don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps fellow travelers find us and join our community.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep traveling by any means necessary.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh, bidding you farewell and happy exploring.